Shark Tank happened. Now, did you submit for Shark Tank or did they reach out to you?
So yeah, we just kind of went through the motions and aired a year and a half ago. And of course, that was another, boost for us. It's great and we're super great for it, but you have to not only deliver, right? Make sure you execute well on that boost because you don't want to mess it up because then you lose that opportunity. But you also need to plan on ways to maintain that boost so there isn't a big drop.
Honest Ecommerce is a weekly podcast where we interview direct-to-consumer brand founders and leaders to find out what it takes to start, grow, and scale an online business today. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today we're joined by Kirsten Maitland, a U.S. Navy veteran turned Microsoft Agile coach who leveraged her tech innovation experience to co-found Rebel Cheese. Kirsten, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to chat, know a few things about your story. Definitely looking to learn more. Now, for those that are unaware of Rebel Cheese, what types of products are you guys making over there? Yes,
we make plant-based artisanal vegan cheeses. I guess that's the two same things there. What makes us different is they're truly gourmet, so you can serve them on a charcuterie board, pair them with a glass of wine. Some of our cheeses take several weeks to make, such as our cave-aged brie, which is truly what sets us apart.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Now, take me back in time. Where did the idea for this business come from?
Yes, over a decade ago, my husband and I decided to give up dairy overnight, and we loved cheese. We would eat it with every single meal. We love to have picnics and date nights and gatherings around cheese boards. So when we decided to give it up, we honestly were a little bit terrified. We were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to eat? And we started shopping around and we just could not find anything artisanal. It was either slices, spreads, shreds. You can't put that on a cheese board, and you definitely can't serve that with wine. So we started experimenting in our kitchen and were blown away by the results. And that's when Rebel Cheese was born. So we wanted to make this product accessible to many people and decided to open a brick and mortar.
That's amazing. So after, experimenting and coming up, was there a single flagship product or did you have a couple of cheeses at the start?
Yes. I knew we were on to something when we came up with our first iteration of our cave-aged brie. And I actually still have the little tiny wine fridge that we used to create that recipe. It's like a 6-bottle fridge. And that's where we aged our first iterations of that brie. And what makes it so special is that it has the same rind as a dairy brie. It comes from that cave aging process and the cultures. And I grew up in England, so I grew up around, aged cheeses and really missed that. So when I took a bite of our, first iteration of our plant-based brie, I was just taken back to my childhood and French bries, and I knew we had something and we needed to pursue this and, sell it at scale.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to get to that part of the story, but we got to start at the beginning. So you have this product and you say you launched with a brick and mortar first. How was that experience? How was going to market at the start?
It was interesting. It's such a unique concept. We were actually the first vegan wine and cheese deli in the world. There have been other delis, but not the full concept. So we weren't sure how it was going to do. So we started really small, to be safe. And when we opened our doors, there was actually a line down the street. So I was like, oh, good. Okay, this is going to work, because we had no idea how this would do. Unfortunately, a few months later, COVID hit. And all the other small businesses at the time, we started pivoting and doing things we never planned to do, like selling our cheese direct to business and direct to consumer. We never thought we would ship this product. So we just kind of dove in and started experimenting with those ideas. And now those are the biggest segments of our business.
That's amazing. Now, obviously, the name of the show is Honest Ecommerce. So I want to chat a little bit about that experience of like, okay, we're going to ship cheeses to people and let's do that. How did you attempt to crack the code of finding your customers out there in the ether. I don't want to guess on anything.
Yes. When we first opened our bistro, people started reaching out to us and asking us to ship our cheeses to their businesses for resale. And we told them, no, we're too busy. We don't know how to ship this, and we want to focus on the restaurant. But then, like I mentioned, when COVID hit, we started calling them back. And we were like, hey, about that wholesale that you wanted to do, let's figure this out. And it was actually fantastic because they were able to help us work through all the kinks. When we shipped out our first iterations, we had like blue tape on the cheese and on the boxes, and packages would show up melted and wet, and so they were able to help guide us through that process and refine it and get it to a point where we were really confident in our shipping.
Absolutely. So the first subset of customers when you started to go online because you had to during COVID was actually a little more B2B. You were shipping kind of wholesale orders to other restaurants and distributors.
Yeah, it was all B2B to begin with. And then, we spent probably about 6 months refining that process. And we knew it wasn't going to be enough to survive COVID. So then we came up with the idea to launch our cheese club. And that's where e-commerce came in. Everybody was at home ordering packages online. So it just made sense to ship, a curated box to people's doors. And since we had been practicing, if you will, with our B2B customers, we felt, really confident about opening this up to a wider base.
Absolutely. And now, did you have a website? Were you trying to just sell single cheeses on the internet before this?
No, we did not have a website. So this was all brand new. To begin, we just started with, one box, and you couldn't pick what was in that box. We picked it for them. And I remember very well when we launched, we received 66 orders, and it felt so huge to us. And we were all back there packing them, and we loaded them into our van. We call it the cheese wagon, and it was full to the brim. And it was also like so exciting. It felt like such a big deal, so that's how we started. And we didn't do any advertising. These were all existing customers that had been to our restaurant and had either moved away or just wanted to get the cheese to their door.
And I'm just assuming you had the foresight to collect their email or phone number when they visited?
No, actually, that was actually something a little side benefit, if you will, from COVID, because everyone was ordering online. And that's another thing too. When we opened our restaurant, we didn't even have online sales for a restaurant. So when COVID hit, I spent 2 nights getting a web page up and running where they can just order from a restaurant online. And that's how we collected their email addresses, was through that process, and started building our newsletter list. And then, we did have a following on Instagram and Facebook and, those usual places that we were able to find people too. So we would post there, announce it there, and some of the customers came from those channels also.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So you launched your cheese club and you get these 66 orders. Do you just double down on it? Do you start investing in ads? Like, how does it grow to now you've got over 5,000 reviews on this website? Like, what happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. We were always very hesitant with ads because of the cost. I mean, we're very bootstrapped. We did, everything ourselves. We didn't have an investor until Shark Tank a year and a half ago. And, ads made us nervous because, it's such a costly endeavor. And we're like, will they work? So we didn't actually start doing ads until about a year ago. So it was a slow process of slowly building up that cheese club. But we did also have some grassroots things that happened. The New York Times featured us. And they, the first time they told us, the second time they didn't tell us, that they included us on their Christmas list. And out of nowhere, all of these orders started coming in. I'm like, what is happening? And can we accommodate all these? We want to get these, but do we have space? And so that really boosted our cheese club when that happened, and was super helpful because it grew, our email list, it grew our base, but that was completely grassroots.
Hey, everybody, just a quick reminder. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't. We're releasing interviews like this every week, so don't miss out. Now back to the interview. It just goes to the cheat sheet to a winning business to have a great product, and in your case, have a delicious product, right? That serves a very specific need, and the customers want it. So that's the number one tip for everyone out there: just have a good product. So you're starting to get these press features, and then now you mentioned it a little bit, and then Shark Tank happened. Now, did you submit for Shark Tank, or did they reach out to you?
We did submit. We were trying everything during COVID. We were applying to any grant we could find, competitions, you name it. And we applied a couple of times, and they reached out. And from the beginning, they told us right until we aired, you may not air, you may not make it. That's what they're telling you throughout this whole process. There's no guarantees. So yeah, we just kind of went through the motions and aired a year and a half ago. And of course, that was another, boost for us. But it's great, and we're super great for it, but you have to not only deliver, right? Make sure you execute well on that boost, because you don't want to mess it up, because then you lose that opportunity. But you also need to plan on ways to maintain that boost so there isn't a big drop. We kind of experienced that a little bit with the New York Times, and we learned a lot from that experience, and we applied those learnings to our Shark Tank experience. And that's when we started investing more in ads, email follow-ups, and things like that. We didn't do any of that with the New York Times. So we had this boost that was great, and then it slowly it started dissipating, and then we're like, oh no, now what?
And then you mentioned it earlier, you struck a deal with Mark Cuban, and everyone should go watch that episode of Shark Tank. My favorite thing about this is completely aside. My favorite thing about traveling for work is Shark Tank's always on at the hotels.
Yes, I love that too. And on the airplane too. I watched so many episodes when I was preparing, but I'm not bored of it. I still enjoy watching it.
I have been in business for nearly 20 years, and very few companies I have hired in that time have performed as well as Electric Eye. They have knowledgeable staff, and our project was delivered on time and on budget. Electric Eye has exceeded my expectations, and I look forward to working with them again. That is a direct quote from one of our clients at Electric Eye. Electric Eye is a Shopify Plus partner that has helped over 100 brands migrate, redesign, and optimize their stores since 2016. If you'd like to increase your conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per session, we are the true Shopify experts you've been looking for. Right now, we're offering a free diagnostic to qualified brands that reach out and mention the podcast. Visit electriceye.io today to schedule a call and send us a message. Find out why we have over 50 5-star reviews in the Shopify partner directory. Again, that's electriceye.io, electriceye.io. You're investing in paid traffic, email, influencers, you're doing everything, but your store's still not converting like it should. That's the hidden cost nobody's talking about. If you don't know why people aren't buying, you're constantly losing money. Whenever conversion rate optimization comes up with brands, the first thing I ask them at the agency is what they are using for analytics and behavior tracking. Heatmap.com is my go-to recommendation because it's the only platform I've seen that connects user behavior directly to sales. That kind of visibility is critical for e-commerce brands trying to grow. I tell every brand that we work with to install Heatmap. It shows you what's working and what isn't using real behavior data tied directly to revenue. You get live heat maps, session recordings, funnels, and attribution down to specific product pages. This isn't just another analytics dashboard, it's a revenue optimizer. And right now, Honest Ecommerce listeners get the hookup. They get a 14-day free trial. They get access to their ultimate 150-point CRO checklist. And as a bonus, you'll get a free setup by us over at Electric Eye when you ask for us to do so. So stop wasting another dollar guessing. Visit heatmap.com/honest. That's heatmap.com/honest and start seeing what your customers see, because clarity truly equals revenue. If you were to go back in time and you were going to do this or just do something similar, you're just going to build a brand from scratch tomorrow, what would be the three things you'd focus on?
Yes. Number one, passion is so important. That's why we started this. Before we started Rebel Cheese, I was a consultant in tech. I had this very successful career. I only, worked 4 days a week, had every weekend off. And I walked away from that to start this because I just had this big void and this strong urge to do something that better aligns with my values. And I'm really glad that that's the approach I took, because there's so many ups and downs, and the downs that, we've experienced with Rebel, like some of those have been, the worst downs I've ever experienced in my life, to be honest. And if I didn't have like that bigger why keeping me going, if it was just for money or success or just to own a business, there's no way I would have made it out of those pitfalls. There's just no way. So that's number one for me. Number two, that's really important, is making sure you get your products out there as quickly as possible so you can gather feedback. One of the huge advantages of our brick and mortars is that we sample our products and we can see real-time feedback. So when we launch a new product, we launch it to the store first and kind of watch how our customers react. Is this worth launching, on e-com and to our wholesalers and all of that? So getting that feedback, as quickly as possible is so important. Number one, it's like you said, is this a product that people want? If it's not a product they want, it's not worth spending months or, tons of money. So get it out there as quickly as possible. And then once you start gathering that feedback, be sure to act on it, right? Don't just gather it and then sit on it, learn from it, implement, your learnings, and constantly be doing that. Always be iterating and, repeating that cycle.
Now, Kirsten, you shared a lot with us today. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think would resonate with our audience?
That's a great question. One thing that I've been focused on that's been really helpful for us here at Rebel Cheese, AI is like a really hot topic right now, and something I'm very passionate about. And what I've been doing when I run into big challenges, for example, one of our shipping partners was charging us, way more than we were planning on. I created a tool which monitors, our invoices and compares it against our contract to catch any variances to make sure that doesn't happen to us again. So there's so many, great ways, innovative ways to address, some of these huge business problems now with AI. You can use like the agents or even just ask it questions. So that's something I've been heavily focused on that I found really helpful, and it's literally saved us so much money and time.
AI is definitely a tool people need to be working into their business and just using. My favorite thing I've been doing lately is I'll describe the problem I'm looking to solve to AI, and then I say, ask me more questions so you get more context to give me a better answer. And that changes the response from an okay response to an insanely specific and actionable answer.
Yeah, and the great thing is it doesn't, there's free versions of those tools. So it doesn't cost a ton of money, whereas 10 years ago, you would have had to hire a coach or a consultant to help you work through those issues, right?
Yeah.
To have a similar scenario. But now these are available to us for free or not much money at all. And they can really help move the needle on some of our big business problems, you know?
Absolutely. Now, before we go, if I'm listening to this podcast and these vegan cheeses sound delicious to me and I want to try them, where should I go? What should I do?
That's a great question. Of course, our website, rebelcheese.com. We have a find near me to see if it's in a store close to you. We have a brick and mortar in Austin, and then we also have one in New York in the Lower East Side, if you're in those areas. And we ship right to your door. So if there isn't a location near you, you can just order online and it will show up right at your doorstep a couple of days later.
That's amazing. Kirsten, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.